and this all started, I think, since from 2020 onwards. Before, it was quite similar in nature, where you had a lot of multiple choice questions, STEM questions for TJ, but they changed the format in 2020. Now, what happens is that there are two sections. The section number one is the student portrait sheet, and I'll cover that, what that means. So there are 4 essay kind of problems that will be asked to the student, and they will have to explain their response in a short essay format, right? And I will cover what SPS means. They basically are attributes. It's personality questions. This is nothing technical, nothing STEM related. This is mostly your personality, right? How have you done this in the past or that in the past? That kind of a question. And then we have a problem solving essay, PSE, which is the second part of the test. And here they will provide you a big prompt, and that big prompt will have 3 or 4 sub prompts, and you will have to respond that in an essay format. And this is also mostly I've seen that it's a math essay. They do say it can be a science essay, but I've seen only one science essay in last 10 years. Outside of that, it's mostly math essay. And in math also, it's very much likely to have a speed time distance kind of a problem, or a proportions percentage ratio kind of a problem. So in this deck, you have the freshman presentation. This is from 2023 because I couldn't find anything latest, but it gives a very good overview on these 2 pieces and process. So feel free to click on this link once I share the deck with you. There is no multiple choice. There is no multiple choice segment in this test. It's all essays. It's boring. I'm telling you, it's very, very boring. There is no excitement. I see writing essays, even for me at my age, it's very difficult. But yes, that's the truth. There is no multiple choice section. Everything is tied to the way you respond back in essay format. Now, what is student portrait sheet? These are the skills that the students exhibit. They call it SPS. These are 2025 skills. Normally, the ones in white, they are ones coming from FCPS, and the ones in yellow, they are the special ones coming from TJ. The questions, the 4 questions that they will ask will be around these skills, right? And I will come to an example question, what kind of questions will be, but they are going to ask these questions to the students, and they have to respond based on their personalized story, right? They might have done some work in the past, either in middle school or even in elementary school, prefer middle school, recent examples, and they have to explain how it was done, right? So this is, in my mind, if you guys have taken any Amazon or FANG interviews, this is very much like if you go for a director plus level, they ask you these kind of questions based on the previous experience or what you have done in leadership, have shown your leadership or collaboration, or a confrontation. How did you calm a confrontation meeting or things like that? And you have to respond in a star format, right? So I will come to that, but this is that kind of questions, 4 questions. You don't have to write a lot. One small paragraphs or 2 small paragraphs are good enough for the response. So for example, recall a situation where you had to find a creative solution with limited resources or under constraints. Describe how you approach innovation within boundaries and what you learned about creative problem solving. Now, this looks like a very, very big, heavy question for students of 8th grade, but you can go with any story where you have done a little bit of innovation also, or thought out of the box. Even doing some STEM activity in school, outside of school, or I would say rate your responses. Number 1 preference we try to give to STEM. Number 2 is outside STEM, if you are doing some extracurricular activities around STEM, like in your robotics clubs and things like that. If you don't have that example, go to sports. If you don't have that example, go to maybe some arts like music, dance, things like that, right? But I'll tell you how I approach this kind of thing with the students, so that they have a portfolio and they know exactly what stories they are going to prepare. But this is one example, and what we do here is when we start the program, each and every student will start creating their profile. When I say profile, it means I'll just show you how it looks like. So the profile is more like they will build their own resume kind of a thing in this format. Their template given to them. They will build their stories and examples, like what kind of stories will fit in what kind of attribute, right? And I will explain them what do you understand a collaborator, what do you understand a communicator, and then help them build stories around the examples. And for getting those examples, I normally ask them to work with their parents, because you sometimes child does not know what all he or she have achieved in the past in that particular attribute. So parents can help giving specific examples, and then I work with the students and we expand on those examples in a particular format. And then we figure out, okay, these are the 2 examples I will make it ready for TJ test, right? And every attribute will have at least 2 examples ready, right? Because they are not going to ask anything outside of this attribute. So this way students learn how to tell their personal story in a particular format, which is more impactful than just, writing a speech or writing a speech which does not have any takeaway and things like that. Right. So once we do this, everyone has their stories, and then we go back and we expand those stories into proper format. And the format is here. You guys might have all seen this before: a star format, a situation, task, action, results. And that's the format normally I like students to, and the students will be evaluated based on this format. So how much percentage you should depict your situation, task, action, results. So every essay will be a star formed essay, and finally we will have lessons learned or takeaways, right? At the end of the day, TJ is looking that student is able to explain in a particular format, and whether they are not very much interested in the story, but they are interested in what was the result and what were the lessons learned. So we try to make results that are measurable in nature in some sense, and then what were the takeaways or lessons learned, right? This is a very, very important piece for TJ. And other thing, TJ is also looking for how you explain this in that kind of a format. So that was the SPS. Then we have problem solving essay. This is the second part. So now there are 4 SPS prompts like the one I showed. There will be 4 prompts like that. And then finally there will be a problem solving essay. Again, a math or science essay. The topic will include multiple variable steps. Usually there are 3 to 4 sub prompts in the main prompt, which you'll have to answer. And then you should obviously have a solution if it's a math problem. Even if it's a science problem, unlike Academy of London, where they are mostly looking for the process, how you approach the problem, TJ is asking you to solve the problem, right? So that's little subtle difference between the scientific essays that we write in Academy of London versus TJ. Here you are solving a problem and you are explaining how you solve the problem. It has to be written in essay format, and yes, it's part of the time test. Now the example of a question for TJ will be like this. It's a math question. It's a time, speed, distance question. There is at some time something is happening. You have to calculate, something around average speed or how much time will it take to do something based on all the criteria parameters provided you in the prompt. And again, students are expected in my class to follow certain templates. I know it's a math problem. We can start with anything and with anything, but I don't want students to just follow whatever they would like. There's a very, very simple and dedicated template for this. There is the intro part, there is the analysis part, and there is a conclusion part, right? A 3-paragraph essay is what I expect from the students here, and that's what we will train the students on these essays in those 12 mock tests. So long story short, there will be 5 essay-like questions. 4 questions will be on your SPS, your personal attributes. These are the ones which we have to respond in 1500 characters or less. So it means 1 paragraph or 2 small paragraphs are good enough, right? And then 1 question on math science. It expects a bigger response, almost 3 times as big as one of the SPS questions. So 3700 characters. And then the total time provided for the entire test is 90 minutes. So they don't segregate different segments. They will say, take 90 minutes and do these 5 questions. And then no calculators, no spell checker. And then must not open other window. What that means, I actually copied that from FCPS website. What it means is that unlike Academy of London, students will be taking these tests in their local middle schools and not in TJ, right? Academy of London students don't take their laptops. I think the laptops are also provided there. So they are kind of locked. You can't do much. You only have one window open. But here, students can take their Chromebook. And of course, on Chromebook, you can open other windows and things like that. But they say don't do that. And I think they will proctor that as well. So ideally, the thing is you are doing this test on your own school's Chromebook or laptop. But yes, you should be not logging into any other window. You will just log into the test window and take your test 90 minutes and just come out. Again, reiterating, time management important, 15 minutes per SPS question and then 30 minutes for a math science question. Math science question is difficult for TJ. So what I do is we start with this, but eventually I would like to train all the children to complete SPS between 10 to 12 minutes and save those 3-4 minutes per question for math essay. And if you get 40 to 44 minutes for math essay, you can do it. 30 minutes for math essay is little less. These are tough questions. Students really have to think, and none of my students were able to complete the math essay in last couple of years, right? Even though they got selected in TJ, but they were not able to complete all the sub prompts of the math essay because it is difficult.